Well, if you're wondering what all that noise is in the background, we're actually pretty excited about it, and we're going to have to bear with it because that's the noise of the trencher where we're installing our irrigation system here at our studio gardens. And obviously that means we won't have to be doing any more hand watering. And later on in the summer and in early fall, we're going to show you some segments about installing irrigation. But now I want to talk to you about some of the All-America selections that have just been released for 1992 that we have planted here in the gardens. Now, it's quite an honor for a flower or a vegetable to be bestowed that title, but for 1992 there's actually 5 flowers, 1 herb, and 1 vegetable that was deemed a 1992 All-America selection, and we have a few of them here in the gardens. Now, the first one that I want to show you is a tropical rose canna. And there's some planted in a couple of rows here behind me. But the interesting thing about this one is that it actually is the first canna that's been released that you can start from seed. And this is kind of what the seed looked like here. And what you want to do is you want to plant the seed, say 5, 8, maybe even 10 weeks earlier than you plant them out in the garden. So you basically start them like a transplant, like you would your tomatoes. And what we have here are some that were started from seed, which this one was here, and we have some that they'll also sell, of course, the rhizomes. Now, the main difference that we're seeing is that the rhizome is a bushier plant versus a seed, but initially it will break and make a fuller plant. Now, the nice thing about this tropical rose canna is it's a dwarf plant. It's only going to be about 30 inches in height. And if you don't like to store rhizomes during the winter like we normally do on cannas, you can just purchase the seed. And it has a nice, pretty pinkish color flower, and it's great for container gardening. So that's a nice addition to the landscape that you may want to try. The other one that we have planted in here is the pretty and white periwinkle, or vinca. And it's really the first periwinkle that doesn't have any pinkish or red color to it. It's pretty much truly a white color with a little bit of yellow right in the center, a little bit larger flower, and it's very heat and drought tolerant. As a matter of fact, ours haven't liked this cool, wet spring at all, and we're losing a few of them just because of those cool temperatures. But now that it's starting to warm up, I think they're going to take off and do really well for us. Another one that we haven't planted yet because of some of the design work with our irrigation is the first salvia that's actually bred after a perennial salvia, so it has a little bit different foliage texture and the flower's a little bit different, but boy, the hummingbirds and the butterflies love it. Again, it's a reddish color and it gets pretty bushy, probably going to get anywhere to 15 inches high. Now, most of the garden centers are selling it as an annual, although in some cases you'll see it labeled or recommended as a perennial. And I think that's because it's new. We're not quite sure what to expect here in Oklahoma, so just plan on growing it as an annual, and then if it comes back, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, a few weeks ago, you saw us harvest the Thumbelina carrot. Well, that's the vegetable release, and if you'll remember, it's a carrot that's more of a round shape. It grows in about 2 inches of soil. I really like the taste of it, and again, it would be perfect for a container garden or in those heavy soils where carrots don't always do so well. And the next one that we have planted out at our gardens is an herb, and it's called fernleaf dill. Now, fernleaf dill is a little bit different from most of the ones because it's a little bushier plant, and it has that fern-like appearance, but most dill will fall over and get real tall and leggy, where this one's a little bit shorter again and branches from the base to make a nice compact plant for the smaller garden. And it's very typical of dill. It's very aromatic, and it produces a nice seed head too for any canning adventures that you might want to take on. Now, the other 92 All-America selection varieties that really didn't fit into our planting scheme this year are Dianthus, which the cultivar is Ideal Violet. It's a plum color with a velvety appearance, and it's supposedly a little bit more heat tolerant, where most Dianthus, are planted as a cool season bedding plant. So this one would grow in this early spring and then withstand a little bit more of the hot temperatures. And then the last one is another flower called Peaches and Cream Verbena, and it's really a pale yellowish white bloom, so it gives the appearance of peaches and cream with the variation in color. And it's a garden type verbena, and also it's supposed to be a little bit better in that it doesn't take as much deadheading to get the continuous blooms. Well, have you ever really wondered how all of these vegetables, flowers, and herbs get the All-America Selection title? Well, first of all, let me tell you that All-America Selections is a nonprofit organization that was established in 1933 for evaluating new seed-grown flowers and vegetables from around the world for home garden performance. Well, recently we visited the Horticulture Center on the OSU campus in Oklahoma City, which was recently selected as a trial garden. We're at the Oklahoma City campus of OSU at the Johnny Kirkpatrick Horticulture Center, and joining us is the department head of the Horticulture Center, Mr. Bob Miller. How are you doing?
Just fine.
Good. Or is that Dr. Bob Miller?
No, it's just Bob.
You're also an official AAS judge with your new trial gardens. Now, Oklahoma Gardening was here a few years ago, and you were a display gardens, and now, starting in, what, June, I guess, July, you're going to be an official trial garden. Tell us the difference about them.
The official display garden is one where already awarded All-American selections are grown and displayed for public viewing. And it's a more a way of showing the public how do these grow in this particular climate. And we've been a display garden for something like 5 years. The trial garden is one where the awards are determined. And it's not just determined at one garden, it's determined at all of the gardens around the United States and in Canada.
Okay. How many trial gardens are there now? I know there's different categories, so why don't you clarify that for us a little bit too?
All right, there are annual, perennial trial gardens. There are like 28 of those in the United States, and that is where the plants are planted outside, observed, analyzed, and then awarded if they are meritorious. There are vegetable trial gardens also, where the same process goes on. There are bedding plant trial gardens, and this is where the plants are not only analyzed ultimately in the garden, but they're analyzed first in the greenhouse for the type of growth they have and so on.
And that's for the people who are selling the plants. So that way it benefits home gardeners who are going to purchase and grow them and the people who sell them too. Now you're a flower trial garden, and I understand you've got some good examples back there. Why don't we
do? We could show you how these comparisons are done.
Okay, let's take a look.
Steve, the way that the evaluation process takes place, we receive a variety such as this hollyhock here that has been unintroduced. It's not been in the commercial trade yet, and we receive 2 comparison varieties that are considered by a panel of judges to be the finest examples of that plant, that color, and so on.
And the comparison varieties are already released
They're
out on the market?
established in the marketplace.
Okay.
And in this case, you can see an interesting difference. Here, the trial variety has a lot of uniformity. It's got a tremendous number of flower buds developing. One of the comparisons is much taller, probably as many flowers. This one is yet to be in flower, much shorter, much later. Once it flowers, then we'll look at flower characteristics. We will observe any insect or disease problems that may be abnormal to it. We're looking at all types of actual plant characteristics that would say this is as good or better.
Okay.
And really better is what we're after.
Right.
If it's just as good, they're not going to award it any kind of an award.
Now when you get it, is it assigned a number? It's not named yet, really?
Just has a number.
Okay. And say if all of the other trial locations across the United States and Canada gave good recommendations and they were going to release it, how long would it be then before this would be available to, say, the home garden?
It could be the next year, or it might be as long as 2 or 3 years. Part of this entire selection process is that, let's say this receives an award. The hybridizer has to have enough seed of this plant so that because of the promotion that will go on for it, that it will be available in an adequate quantity in the marketplace.
Okay.
So sometimes it's the next year, sometimes it takes a year to build up enough seed.
How many are in your trial gardens?
Plants that are on trial.
Right, plants that are
this
on
year there's about 30 cultivars that are
Okay.
being trialed.
And those are in all of the different locations?
All over the United
Okay.
States and Canada.
And for next year, we may be talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 of those 30 being released.
At the
or
very
so.
most.
Okay.
Last year there was not one that was chosen. So that it is a process where only the very finest are awarded.
Okay. Now, you tell me, you've had some problems with the weather out here too. What kind of situations have occurred maybe that are affecting your plants?
We've had a lot of plant loss because with all of the rain, the ground has stayed extremely wet. Weed growth has been 10 times as bad as normal because of the amount of rainfall. It's been interesting to see some of the cultivars that have really handled this wet weather quite nicely. But those are things that are being taken into consideration.
Okay, and that's one reason there's so many locations, so it all kind of balances out.
right.
Plus, we know which ones are more adapted to Oklahoma versus some of the other
This
states,
particular year for Oklahoma is a little abnormal from a judging standpoint.
Right. Now, this is a kind of label that they would look for at their garden center or in the mail order magazines to find such a thing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So that tells you it's gone through years of trial and tribulation, and it should be one of the best ones out on the market.
That's right.
Well, tell us a little bit about your marigolds then.
All right, over here we have some orange marigolds that are being observed. This particular one with the number, the 92F10, is the trial variety.
Okay.
And in this case, we're comparing it to this orange marigold and this one. In this case, these two, because of their compactness and flower color, are the most similar to the untrialed or untested variety.
Okay.
And what we're comparing is things like number of flowers, the doubleness of the flower, the growth habit of the flower, and so on.
Okay. Well, Bob, I guess it's okay for individuals to come out here. What are you on, Portland?
This is 400 North Portland.
Okay, to
This
take
is
a look, right?
open to the public. We would love to have anybody come and see what's going on, enjoy our entire facility.
Well, it's great to allow us to come out here too, and great color, and we want to thank you again for having us. And of course, that's all the time we have today on Oklahoma Gardening, and we'll hope you come back next weekend for another version of Oklahoma Gardening.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.